This is Tareck Adeeb. It's time to go with the flow. And this is a short synopsis of the astrology of the week. And very soon, when you get into the community, i.e. when you join Tareck Adeeb website, there'll be an opportunity to go deeper into this stuff. So I look forward to going deeper. But for now, we're going to keep it short and concise. Now, really what's fascinating to me is about, again, this bifurcation that I've been talking about all year, in how that the world is kind of really splitting, and it's going to split more rapidly. And that's very much people who are on the exponential age, who see that this is the golden age, that we're moving into more accelerated times, more space age times, but who are profiting from it or finding their heaven on earth. And it's going to be a process. We've got 4 years of quite a lot of tumultuousness, and we've even got until 2032 to really kick in. So obviously it's a bigger picture from a week perspective, but still, the reason why it's significant to bring this up right now is because obviously the equinox is next week, and it's very interesting how the moon moves with Pluto in Capricorn again, because when we get to the 23rd next week, which is the equinox date, the moon will be in Capricorn. So it's just very interesting how when we get this ingress of the sun into Libra, which is what happens when we go into the fall equinox cycle in the northern hemisphere anyway. And with that, we get equal day, equal night. And it's very, very important because this is the last time we will have Pluto in Capricorn at this particular conjuncture, even though we will get it briefly for 3 weeks next year. But still, with the moon there, I've noticed that whenever the moon is in Capricorn, it can be quite difficult, quite heavy. And that's what always seems to happen. And we've got that playing out over the next, until January this year. So what does that mean? Well, it's a great opportunity to release a lot of the heaviness and the things that have been really, dogging us down or reminding us of stuff, that heavy energy, which is very much connected to, let's say, the old world. So, for example, we're going to see information this week about economic data, even though, sadly, these days, it's so hard to get a gauge on what's real and what's not real. But still, the way things are moving, there seems to be more negativity, connected to the economics at the moment, obviously, because of all the money printing. And it seems like the only way to solve the problem is money printing. But yeah, obviously, because of inflation, this is what we're going to find out about more this week. And that obviously has an impact on the stock market. And then obviously, confidence. So we've got all these things playing out, as we move closer to the eclipses. These fears, these forebodings are things that, in the geopolitical world as well. Obviously, you're seeing stuff happening all over now, natural disasters, which is, shocking, scary. And all these, like I say, dark, difficult, heavy things of the old world, the consequences of the old world, how it's affecting what's emerging. So obviously, AI will be a huge, huge topic of conversation next year. So how are we moving into this exponential age? And again, that's to do with this bifurcation. So I don't know how everyone was feeling over the weekend, but it was really interesting, actually, the Venus square Jupiter that happened. And today, as we talk, the sun is opposing Neptune. So, Venus square Jupiter is a benefic aspect. So if you were feeling excited over the weekend, if you were feeling like we're moving now finally into better times, because even if an old world is ending, it doesn't mean that we're not pivoting onto the new world, where there is going to be so much opportunity, growth, abundance, expansion, our tribe coming together, and all of us having fun together, all of that is coming, and it is about learning the tools, though. It is learning about AI. It is learning that the old world is ending and pivoting in the right way. So because of all of this, if you were feeling excited at the weekend, if you were feeling, optimistic, then obviously we are now in this bifurcation, which is shifting into accelerated growth as we move up, because everything was quite tricky, when we were going through this Venus retrograde. It really depended, on many things. If you were having a kind of content, humdrum, steady away. Could say boring. You know, I mean, boring isn't far away from contentment, you know. Then maybe now it seems easier. Maybe there was a lot of work that needed to be done, just maintaining, you know. Maybe you were holding space for other people at that time, you know, during this Venus retrograde, which, you know, again, Venus direct now, you know, squaring that Jupiter, which is retrograde. It's like we're pivoting now with the lessons of the Venus retrograde. Mercury is direct now, you know. We have more forward motion, you know, more sense about what has happened this summer, because it's been crazy, really, you know, for a lot of people. There's certainly been a degree of uncertainty, and the last sort of like the 10-degree orb, you know, which in mundane astrology is still relevant. You know, this Saturn Uranus, like, we're still just closing that chapter. There's tiny fragments which can again create a certain degree of instability. You know, it can create a certain degree of unknown still at the moment, and that's why we're really setting ourselves up for these eclipses in October. So that's why now the lessons of the Venus retrograde and the Mercury retrograde, even though everything is still retrograde except for Mars, that's why Mars now becomes very important. Mars in Libra. You know, we've got an eclipse coming in Libra. We've got the Equinox coming next week, i.e. the Sun in Libra. The South Node in Libra. So really, it's all to do with your tribe, your environment, everything that you've been working towards to get to this place now, you know, the people that you're with. And again, it's so important, that Venus retrograde lesson, because who are you with now? You know, who's in, who's out? It's what I've been saying for a while. You know, who's the team? You know, what's the lesson of these months of forging new relationships or exiting old relationships or rebirthing the relationships that you have, to now, finally, as we approach October, to really accelerate with this bifurcation. And if you're feeling excitement, that's very positive right now, because that means you're really starting to ascend with this new wave. If you're feeling anxiety, however, that's when you've really got to start taking action. So, for example, are you still doing the bad habits that you were doing that you know you need to stop now? Have you taken the necessary adjustments, whether it's relationship or whether it's, you know, anything that practical? Because remember, we do have an eclipse in Taurus coming up. So we have to be prepared for tumultuousness, for world events, these things that may well be happening over the next 6 weeks. So we're preparing ourselves for it. You know, again, the survive, thrive theme, which is very soon to come to an end. Have you got enough money in the bank? Have you got enough food resources? Have you got the right community around you, neighbours? All of these things are going to really come to a conclusion, and things are going to accelerate so much more when we get to October. So enjoy this moment of stillness to really think about what to let go of now. You know, what's in integrity. And this equinox on the 23rd is a great opportunity, especially with the moon in Capricorn, to release the heaviness now, to release what is no longer required in your life, the bad habits or the things that just are no longer serving. You know, the grief that you might have experienced over the last 3 years, you know, the people who are no longer here, commiserating or letting go and going into acceptance and getting ready, you know, for this next phase, which could be incredibly fortuitous, especially as we approach April next year. So the main thing to really talk about, just to say this, you know, Mars opposing Chiron over this next week, and then obviously the Sun opposing Neptune today. You know, we've really got to keep grounded. You know, we've got to prepare. It's our community that counts at this time now with the South Node in Libra. And we've got to overcome our fear, you know, the things that are preventing us from moving forward, and do what is required. Set a vision, get it ready for the equinox, declutter, and let go of what no longer serves. Be your way to show the way. Peace.